What's going on, guys? This is Tanner from What's Up Dog, and welcome to the What's Up Dogcast. Today, my dad Steve and my brother Corey are going to talk about the struggles and the successes of running a family business together and all the fun that comes with it. We hope you enjoy.
Hey everybody, this is Steve Katowski, and I am here with my son Corey Katowski, and we just want to have a candid conversation about running a family business. I think there's a lot of people that are out there that look at going into maybe it's the dog industry or any other industry, and they want to do it with family, and there's some unique challenges that that come with that. And so we thought it might be a benefit to just talk about what we do, how we do it, and as a family-run business for the last, 12 years, 13 years almost.
Yeah, almost.
And we're creeping up there in the years, and it started. I think we incorporated back in 2012. I was doing some work before then, and then incorporated in 2012, and then moved into our facility that following summer, because I think I went through the 8 months or something.
Yeah, we went
9 months.
Trying to find a building was difficult.
Yeah,
at that beginning.
And finally landed on a building in May, and then moved everything for what I was doing from the house to a building, and then it has just grown from there as we set up the training facility. Really just as training, and then we started doing some boarding at large, but mostly just for client dogs that we had trained with. And then we grew. We knew we would put a store there because the people I was training dogs for wanted me to bring food to them, and I was picking food up and then loading up my SUV, taking food to them, or bringing food to the training facility for them to pick up. And we knew that it would be a great opportunity to actually supply products directly to people. And we started in I think we allotted 700 square feet for the little store spot.
Maybe, if that.
So it wasn't a lot.
No, there's one row of dog food where we had like six SKUs of dog food. I mean, 2 brands. Yeah. Some treats and some toys, and then just the training equipment, and then the Dogzyme supplements that we've had ever since even one. Before at the house.
Yeah, we use those in the breeding program and with the show dogs and everything. So we brought them into the store. I knew that we would have that as part of what we did with the nutrition and having it available for training clients so that we could boost nutrition. I feel like we boost the brain power of the dog when you have proper nutrition. So we just started growing, and we started adding SKUs to the store, and all of a sudden our item list grew, our brand offering for foods grew, and now in the small store, I think we've allocated, I don't know.
We're about 1,000 square feet, and in there now, we took your training room, your old training room, and then made it what we call the food room. So then we moved into that into our training building.
Right, when we acquired the Quonset hut on property, and we turned that into a full training facility there, and then expanded our boarding offerings, and then added daycare. Most recently to that building, even though we did it a few years ago, but really pushed to have a solid daycare there, which is actually it's growing every week.
Yeah, moved from a 30 by 30 room for daycare. You could take 6 to 10 dogs maximum, and then now we're in probably 15 to 2,000 square feet allocated just for the daycare now in that new space.
Right. And I think it's right at 2,000 square feet, and we could because it's separated with little dogs and big dogs, and the 2 yards outside and everything. Realistically, we could have 60 dogs in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is nice. But even before we did that daycare, we opened the other store, and I want to say we were probably in the main training facility for 3 years.
It was 6 years ago. This September will be 7 years in the Miramar Beach location.
Okay, so then we opened up the Miramar Beach location, and really reworked a 5,000 square foot building, and split it directly in half. For a daycare of 2,500 square feet and a 2,500 square foot retail footprint. And I don't know how many SKUs we currently have, but there's a lot.
We're up to what, 5,600 SKUs in the store. So individually, gets quite a lot.
And so we're able to expand the toys, the training equipment, and just the gear in general, leashes, collars, lots of training, simple stuff, and then toys and more toys and more toys.
More toys, toys everywhere. Toys, more collars and leashes, and just really lots of food now too. I mean, we started with a little chest freezer for raw.
Right.
We're up to 5 double door freezers for raw. Five double door freezers of raw, and a fridge for gently cooked, refrigerated.
Yeah, I think it gives us about 100 feet of shelf space. I calculated it one day, and I want to say it's right around 100 feet of shelf space for frozen and refrigerated combined, which is a long ways from a stand-up chest freezer. Yeah. And I remember that first freezer because Stella and Chewy's actually was the one who sponsored that freezer, and because there wasn't a freezer program that seemed to be feasible at the time, it was just a white freezer, and then a vinyl covering was made for it.
Yeah, they sent that vinyl that made the closed door without a glass on there. It made it look like it was a glass door fridge or freezer.
And now we've got so much freezer space now. It's become a growing segment for us with raw product and the gently cooked and then the fresh product that we carry. So it's been a big deal. And looking at where we've grown in the nutraceuticals side, we've added in so many products, and I think that we talk about how do you run a business and be effective. As we kind of move into that, and it's with adding products, but then eliminating products too.
Yeah.
So you have to have products that you believe in. You have to have products that actually serve a purpose. And it doesn't matter if you had 10,000 square feet of store. I guess you could have a lot of those products, but 2,500 square feet, you want to have focused products that you can go to market with, and that you can believe in. And I think that the big thing for me in the retail side is having what we call brand partners.
Yeah.
I don't just want brands there. I want to have partnerships with the brands. And I think that's where you've come in, because you've been able to create partnerships with a lot of these brands. And the not just the representatives that come around to show product and the manufacturers reps, but actual owners of companies recognize what we do based on the volume that we have and the commitment that we have to quality. And so there's been a number of owners that we've been able to sit with and that you forged relationships with before I did, because I wasn't that interested in too many of the owners. Or even the representatives, to be quite honest, because I wanted to focus on what I did, and that was training and then marketing, and I left it up to you to bring in product. And we've had some differences in what we look at for product, and what we think is gonna make a big hit or what's not. And sometimes you're right, sometimes I'm right.
Sometimes both of us are wrong.
Yeah, sometimes both of us are wrong. We think it would do something and it didn't. So, as people look at, business and retail, it's a big gamble, and you just don't know. And I think one of the big things for the listeners, and when you walk into a store that's a specialized store like ours, I'm not going to sell something just to move product. And that's kind of my commitment to the industry. If it doesn't work, then we're going to get rid of the product. We'll nix the line, or if there's and thankfully we've not had anything with recalls. So
yeah, no, I mean we had one recall on a product that we do carry, and it was in a batch that we didn't even get. We didn't even receive that batch of products, so we didn't have to recall anything. We were outside the guidelines for the recall, which was great. And then the company came out. They were very open and honest about what happened. It was a flaw. It happened. We still carry that product in the store, and we've not had one issue ever since that. But no, thank goodness we haven't had to deal with a recall of a product that we brought in, or some mass craziness that happens with all these products.
Well, some of the craziness, and I'll speak to that. Like we have to make decisions based on what's best for the consumer's dog. And, recently Champion Foods was purchased. And so a lot of people said, we're not going to carry Champion anymore because it's owned by a big conglomerate and everything's going to change. But the reality is nothing's changed, and it's still one of the best foods on the market. And we want to make sure we still have that product available to customers. We sell a ton of it.
Yeah.
And we looked at alternative products for them because I think that's the responsible thing to do for us, and also be ready for them in case a change does happen. And we've been really good at being strategic in how we look at those things. And that takes a little bit of discussion, a little bit of talk, a little bit of table time, to make sure that we're getting there. And there's a lot of yeses, a lot of nos. As we walk through that process, it's not instantaneous. Hey, this is really good. What I was taught a long time ago, that a great idea comes from a lot of good ideas. And so having discussions about what we're going to do before we do it, I think helps us to honestly be a great store and have what the customer needs, have what their dog needs, and then being able to educate them where a lot of the fallacies come down the chain of this company or that company is doing this change, or this is bad for a dog and this is good for a dog, like the DCM fiasco.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was when that first came out, that just kind of in any pet store, in our like specialized pet store like we are, I mean, that hurt really bad because everybody saw this article and the top 10 brands on the list were 10 brands that we all carry.
Right.
And we had every single brand on that list in our store at the time. Now a couple of them are gone because they've made changes that we didn't agree with, as far as nutritionally, and politically, or just in the scheme of their company. So we've decided to move on. But say 8 of those are still in the store, including Origin and Acana from Champion. That DCM finally, what was it, about a year ago? They came out with the study from the FDA where they said those brands aren't causing DCM. It's a specific ingredient, and it has to be in really, really high amounts.
Right. So
it wasn't, just grain-free dog food was giving your dog dilated cardiomyopathy. It was, hey, too much of this one thing without adding taurine to strengthen the heart
could be a problem.
Could be the affecting, but there's never a guarantee in it.
But there was another study. So there was the first study in 2018. Then there was another study in, I want to say, 21. Then there was another study, which was kind of like the final study by the FDA, and said, hey, everything's cool. DCM is not what we thought it was in terms of grain-free and all that. And they said, be cautious about using pea fiber and stuff like that. But the latest study that came out was just a month or so ago, I want to say, and it actually said that even using the pea fiber and everything is not causing the problem, although some of the manufacturers cut back on the amount of pea protein they did and added more animal protein.
Which is good. That's great. I mean,
it's
that's
a
what
good
they
change.
need.
Yeah, it's a good change for the industry, and they went ahead and did that ahead of the study that came out, and it may have been April or maybe the beginning of May when that one came out. So, we've been able to navigate through that, and we want to continue to bring products, to market that are good, and having a limited space in terms of, 2,500 square feet is a lot of footprint. There's a lot of shelving, a lot of racks, and a lot of things that hang up.
Still fills up really quick.
But it fills up so fast. So we have to be really, again, I'll use the word strategic in what we bring in and what we're willing to, put our necks out for, because it has to be a product that is going to bring some benefit to the customer's dog.
Yeah.
And, just all those things considered, it can be tough sometimes. So it's not always easy trying to get everybody on the same page. And there's a third person who's not here, in Tanner, who is now leading and running the training facility under my guidance, but he has a lot of latitude in what happens there. And so now you have that, and then there's not just Corey and I, but there's 3 of us that look at different things. And we do consider what Tanner sees, because he loves to study the nutrition and practice nutrition is the way that I'll put it. And I'll try not to laugh when I say that, but he practices nutrition on his dogs. And it's the same thing that I did many years ago. And he's now practicing nutrition with his dogs. And it's actually, I commend him for it, because he's trying to see what fits. And he's got several dogs. It's not like he just has one or two dogs, but he has several dogs because he takes care of the puppies and he takes care of some of the other working dogs. And he's been able to practice on different dogs and see what foods work, and then recommend proper product to clients. So it's good. But you start looking at all the dynamics now. So it's me, there's Corey and I. Then there's Tanner, who throws in, his knowledge and the things that he's done and what he sees on the daily basis with dogs that are under his care. And so we have to be really good about what are we going to bring in, and then how are we going to take what we do in the 2,500 square foot store, where we can stack out tons and tons and tons of product because the way it's racked and set up.
Yeah,
and then what can we have in our smaller store? So there's a lot of things that you have in there. So you can imagine there's probably some discussions.
Very strongly worded discussions sometimes. But no, that's why we bring so many new products into the Miramar store first, into the large store, just because we want to try it. And sometimes we go to a show or a buying event and just we see product that we really want and we want to put it in both stores, but sometimes it's hard to find the space, just because there's not any left. So you have to take the space from someone else. Right. And another product. So you have to outweigh, hey, is this product giving a better benefit to the dogs and to our customers versus this one? And that's not really an easy decision that we've ever made.
Right. And now we have to look at the economy, and look at what's good for. And I use the reference back to the customer's dog, but now also it's good for the customer, in a sense of the economy, because prices have gone up, package sizes have changed to accommodate
inflate. They really
inflation.
They're taking the small bag or the bags a little smaller to eliminate the price increase. So they're keeping the price the same, but they're changing the bag size, so you're really getting a little less.
Sometimes, you're getting a pound or two less in a bag now. And, so we have to look at that as well. So we've been able to bring some products in, and it takes a lot of work. You have to research that stuff and find out what is another good product it's a second tier product instead of the top tier products. But if you're going to bring in second tier products, they've got to be good.
Yeah.
And we've got a good offering for those things. So balancing things out with good nutrition and then benefit for the dog. Where, again, before it seemed like it doesn't matter, I want the best food, I want the best food, I want the best food. That's great, so we search for those things. Well, now look at some second-tier product so that you can still have a really good food and then have something that might be a little bit more price-conscious, but you have to look at those ingredients really carefully. And there's a lot of people doing second-tier foods that are just not as good. They still use the big brand name, but they drop that line
they've
quality
changed
way
the
down.
quality in the product, or they've changed one or two ingredients to really cut that price. And it's just some of those ingredients are just something that we're not willing to put in the store to sell as an offering. I mean, we have some lower tier products, but they still offer good ingredients and good sourcing and good backing on it. So it's not like we're not going to have it, but it's just one of those things that we have to really pay attention when we're looking at those, when the sales reps bring us those offerings for the cheaper product, or economy product.
I think I caught a manufacturer off guard at Global. And I looked at the bag of the new food. They said, "This is our new food. It's going to be good. This is going to be our tier 2 food." And I looked at the ingredient deck and I said, there's no wheat. And she said, yeah, there's no wheat, no corn, no soy. Okay, so first of all, that's great. Excuse me. And then I looked at the bag and the ingredients and it had rye in it. And I said, well, all you've done is swap rye in there where you would have put a wheat filler in. Now you've added rye filler. And I guess she didn't know that I knew about food. And I said, what about gluten sensitivities? Now you're doing the same thing as what the wheat does. when you're adding gluten. And
She said her response was, "Well, that's what we have our other line for."
yeah, that's what the other line is for. And so,
Yeah.
you have to know ingredients. It can't just be a shiny, that shiny penny that you're chasing, looking at bags or the even the big names. You really need to know what's on an ingredient deck, and I think that's where we excel. My background in the food business certainly helps with that. And then with what you do with, and I think Corey is driven to I say this openly in the store, in his presence, so this won't be anything new, but I think he was always driven to learn more than what I know. And so he's really, really honestly taken that to a great place to learn more about food products. And
when I came on a little over 8 years ago, I said I want to know more, and I want to be more knowledgeable than you in that food space, in the supplement space. Now there's still questions sometimes, and it's like, oh, what the heck does this mean? But no, that's kind of what I told myself. I'm like, I need to be more knowledgeable on this, because you need to focus on training and growing that part. So you weren't always standing there with the customer when I was. So there's definitely been that. That's why, that's where those relationships with those reps and the owners of each of the different companies. I get to go hang out this summer at one point with one of the owners of the company. We're gonna go watch a baseball game together. It's just those relationships have helped the knowledge that I gained, for sure. Now it's not all from books or physical experience like you with the restaurants or anything like that, but knowledge is gained everywhere. So I just took a different approach to it.
Yeah. And the reality is I don't expect to be around the business forever. I would, I'm not entertaining the fact that I'm leaving or anything like that, but, at some point, then it'll be something that you can take over with enough knowledge to continue what we do. And Tanner can take over training because he'll have enough knowledge poured into him to take over what we do. And I'll still have some governance in that, but a lot less day to day at some point. And that's kind of my plan with where we're going now. We've had to, we're 3 years out of COVID now, in a sense of when we first saw shutdowns and people leaving work and losing staff, so they could go home and take care of kids that were in preschool and
when the schools were all closed and everything.
So, we lost staff due to that. And then they found that, even after 5.5, 6 years working with us, that and they really kind of liked being at home, and it seemed to work for them. And they enjoyed the break and the time with their kids, and they made it work because they had good family support around them, and they've enjoyed that. So we had to work through that with less staff. And it was at the same time that was our plan to open daycare in Santa Rosa Beach. So that was a huge flop.
It
didn't take off. There was
that
was slow going right there because everyone's dog was at home. So here we revamped and did everything in that facility and got ready for daycare. And then, we just had a handful of dogs, quite honestly, that would come in for daycare. And it was not a
we
great
were
thing.
maxing out at 10 dogs. That's all we could get.
Yeah. It was, and then we had to maintain the staff we had, and you can't just not have staff. So I worked a lot of hours, and during that time, you were moving away from working full time with us.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a whole lot of new things that I had to do that I wasn't used to necessarily doing. And part of that was running the retail store, because I moved from the training center where I had a trainer in place and had staff for the boarding, which we weren't doing much boarding because no one could travel, and moved over to the retail store. And that's when I kind of set my sights on, let's take the opportunity to do something bigger, better than what that store had ever seen. And I think that made you a little bit crazy because you hadn't done it before. You didn't trust that I could do it because I didn't know the store side as well. And then that's, kind of for me, I said, well, I'm going to learn more about retail from a standpoint of, it was easier for me just to say, okay, go see Corey or go see one of the other staff, and they'll help you, walk you through and pick out your groceries. But if you want nutraceuticals and you want food, I can help you with it. But when you're looking at all of the periphery stuff that we offer, it was like, I didn't take the time for it. So it forced me into that and really, really pushed me into learning a lot of those things and retail trends. Even though
which are still weird. There's really no.
There's nothing
looking
set.
At it the other day, there's nothing set. It's just like, I don't know. One thing will sell this week. It won't sell for 2 months after that, and we'll have it in the store ready to go for whenever somebody really wants to buy it again.
Right, and then you'll see that pickup because people cycle through different things, and so you have to maintain quite an inventory.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that I learned is we had to increase inventory. We had to increase offerings in order to be viable, especially where we saw the shutdowns with COVID. But the good things that came out of that period of time, and I don't like sharing about our things that we do and all that kind of behind the scenes, or ways that we work within the community. But I want to share this because it opened our eyes up to do something really good. And Corey and I had a discussion about it. I said, we have to do something. And I don't know what that looks like. We have to do something, and it was to help people because people were out of work. And we were getting calls from the rescues, and they were saying that the rescues are overflowing. And, the question is, well, why all of a sudden? And they said, because people can't afford to feed their dogs. Mm-hmm. And so we decided, let's get a pallet of food. And that turned into a friend of mine hearing about it. And she said, what can I do to help? And I said, well, we need to buy more food, but we've already purchased quite a bit of food. And I've asked all of the employers up and down the coast. I started making phone calls. I reached out on Instagram and Facebook, and I did a live on Facebook as a plea to get some of these business owners. And it didn't matter what kind of business it was because people were out of work from every industry. And I reached out to them, and I didn't hear anyone. Not one person came back to me and said, hey, Steve, we want to help. But this woman did, and she said, go swipe my American Express and put enough on whatever you swipe on there, put enough on there. Let's buy 3 more pallets of food. And that's pretty sizable donation. And we were able to take that food and get it into people's hands who just didn't have work. And as a company and as a person who, I guess, we thrive because of the community. And it's the community who brings their dogs to us to train. It's the community who shops with us. We brought in product that we don't even sell. We just brought in, honestly, a second-tier food to some of the stuff that we actually do sell because I didn't want it to be something where we were, proselytizing business from other businesses and trying to, rake those people in for us to do what we sell groceries. But that's not what the idea was. The idea was to separate it and just give good food away so that people didn't have to put their dog in a shelter. And it helped. And the woman who helped, I'm grateful to her to this day. She's just a great lady. And that's one of the things that we were able to do in a tough time. And
yeah, because at that time we didn't even know if we were going to end up staying in business because we didn't know if travel never opened again.
You don't need a boarding facility.
We don't need a boarding facility. No, at that point, we had 2 locations. We were going to have to figure out, all right, what do? We get rid of one? Do we go back to going to people's houses and doing dog training? Because everybody still had dogs who could afford to keep their dog without a job. But I'm grateful that everything opened up the way it did, at least in our state, and so everybody was coming here. I'd say what COVID was it ended up turning up to be one of our best years ever in business because of what happened.
I think so, and I think that it's just the overall.
Everybody started shopping locally because they knew, hey, like everybody's hurting. So let me support the people who are in my community. And they were putting their money back in the community at that point where they were, maybe for us, they'd be maybe going to Amazon or Chewy and buying stuff and shipping it. But the shipping companies, they were way behind. So their automatic orders weren't getting there.
And I think that's what saved our bacon, because everybody wanted deliveries. We even tried to deliver.
We
but
did it for a
it's-
little bit, but
it's
it was just
difficult.
like, oh
it's
my
really
goodness.
difficult with less staff, plus the way our town is designed on Highway 98.
With one road, and everything's a gajillion miles away.
And everything's just too far to be able to, to send out shipments. But we were able to do curbside, and people would come in. The store was clean. It smelled like Lysol in there, the old brown stuff that used to get used in hospitals and everything. Everybody made fun of me, and it smells like a hospital in here. And I said, that's good. That means we're not going to get sick. So we kept the store clean, did all the things that we needed to do, and then we saw tremendous growth out of it. And I think that was a big moment for us for growth, was coming out of COVID. And, maybe it had something to do with what we did, with the community. And just to kind of set that in perspective, 99% of those people who picked up food from those 4 pallets of food that we brought in, they didn't shop in our store.
Ever.
And they never did before, and they never did after. And so it wasn't about reaching those people. It was simply about helping those people. And so I just feel like maybe that's where some of our growth came from too. Sometimes you just have to give back, and we've always done that. But that was a big thing in COVID that we did. I gave away 2 police dogs to a parish in Louisiana that needed some help, and it was good for us because it helped me to drop dogs in our kennels from our working kennels, because I didn't know what was happening. So COVID was a big challenge, but it taught me a lot about myself, what I could do, how I could grow the business, build the business, and then how to be more creative. Even like in training, I started doing day training, where people didn't have to do a board and train, and I could just day train with their dog. And it added another segment for what we do as far as offering goes. Day training was something that I'd really had never, never offered formally, and so that was a good ad for us.
It was a good little addition for sure. Just drop their dog off for the day, come back, do a short little session at the end of the day, and then bring their dog back again a couple days later.
And after multiple sessions, then their dog had immersive training, worked with them, and the people were part of the process, and it was really good. So that was probably, and when we look at it as a line item, it was actually a good thing that we did that, because it really helped us in that period of time. And again, we saw sales just soar.
With
at
the
the end
product
of
that
the
we
year.
could get during that year. I mean, that was a big problem. I mean, everything shut down. The ports shut down, everything. So anything that was imported from outside the country, Farmina, what else did we have from outside the country? I mean, even Origin, some of the Origin products.
From Canada, right.
From
Lotus
Canada.
from Canada.
Lotus from Canada.
Canada Pooch.
Yeah. Different products that are imported from outside the U.S. Because they have higher standards, unfortunately, impacted our business, because some of those were really, really high-selling foods in our store that a lot of our customers were on. Well, we couldn't get the product, so they couldn't get the product, so we had to switch.
And that lasted actually until last year. We saw manufacturing deficiencies, shortage of aluminum, so canned goods were hard to get. It wasn't about raw product for them. It was about packaging materials.
Yeah, it switched into being able to get the product here, and then they lost a lot of product because at the time it took too long to get through the ports and everything. And then they had the raw product issue, and then that they fixed that problem. Then they turned into, we don't have packages because the packaging wasn't get there.
Right, and then you had chicken. That was a problem. With the avian flu, so you saw egg shortage, and you saw chicken shortage, and so we fought through some of that stuff, and we've done really well with it, and yet we grew. We continued to grow, and I think being innovative in thinking, how do we have product on the shelves? How do we have good quality product to offer, and how do we, get product to our back door so we can get it in someone's car? And we were able to work through those things, and they were challenging. But again, you start seeing growth, and when you're doing the volume that we do, it's pretty nice. We look at, and I'm going to roll that backwards. You roll back years ago, and when I first did my business plan. it was fairly modest what I truly thought that I would do, and I was going to be a kind of a solo act, and probably bring in a couple staff members to help with the kennels, for doing board and trains, and I saw it as a solo act when I did my first business plan. And then you start to grow, and all of a sudden you're doing several $100,000, and then you're doing into the millions, and you're looking at what the volume becomes as you have the growth. Then you have to start thinking, okay, well, we're beyond just growth. This is good, and now things for me are about sustainability. How do we remain consistent in what we do and
with the same quality,
remain viable, and then have sustainability? And so the shift, for me, I think it's been about, okay, what about sustainability? Because we never know what's around the corner, and we don't get political with what we do, because that's going to be a challenge no matter what. Well, we have to look and be real, and things have changed quite a bit this last year. Coming out of COVID, coming out of shortages, coming out of all the things that we were faced with then, now we look at inflation and we look at hyperinflation. It's up there, and cost of goods have gone up, cost of transportation has gone up. Then you have inflation on top of that. So it's like, how do you remain viable, and how do you have sustainability? Well, again, it's about sticking to some of the products that got you there, sticking to some of the brands that you trust, that got you there, and working with those same dogs that come in, those same people on the other end of that leash that trusted you before still trust you. And I think that's what keeps us thriving and keeps us going, is that we've built trust in the community. And even with strangers, yesterday we had a new person come in, and they came from outside of our area, and they said, hey, we heard about you guys, and we have a dog who's sick. And so I started having a talk with them about nutrition and feeding and the supplements and the medicines they were on. And by the time they left, and this is interesting, they spent over $500. Now, they bought enough food for a long
probably
time.
like 5 or 6 months.
Probably 6 months of food
with their dog sizes.
for their little dogs. But they said, we cannot get this product where we live, and this product is amazing. So they ended up, and they made one purchase, and then the wife came in to meet me and talk to me, because the husband said, you have to talk to my wife and tell her she's not allowed to feed the dog any junk, because she's bad about it. Excuse me. And the wife came in, and then she's after we had a discussion for a few minutes, she looked at her husband. She said, go get another bag of this food. I don't want to run out. And so by the time they were done with toys and food and supplements and stuff, they spent over $500. And it's those kind of stories that are good on the front side, but the best part of that story will be in about 2 or 3 weeks, when we reach out to them and ask them how their dog is doing. And when they tell us that the dog is making this big change, if they followed everything, the dog will make a huge change. There's no doubt in my mind. And that'll be the big thing. So now you have word of mouth outside of your area. Make sure that when you go to Destin, you stop by What's Up Dog. And he said, I'll be a customer online for you guys. Even if you don't have online, he said, I'll want you guys to ship to me, because I trust what you do. And I said, just take a picture and you can buy this thing online. And he said, you're my new online store. He said, if you'll ship to me, I'm happy to pay you guys to ship it. So kind of neat that you have that stuff going on, and that you can make that kind of an impact. And for us, it'll be about making that impact in a larger area eventually. That's I think, going to be a big thing that we start looking at, is how do we go into more areas, to offer what we do, and bring our knowledge to more people.
Yeah. No, I look forward to that. Just where it goes in the future, and I mean, where outside of our area kind of thing, and how far we can go, and how many people can we bring the knowledge that we've instilled in ourselves and in the staff that we have. I mean, you talked about, I mean, you saw it as a one-man band thing at the beginning. I mean, we're up to 16 employees now. So
right.
There's no longer a one man. Everybody has to work as a team, because without everybody else, I mean, there's a lot going on now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
And I don't
look
mind,
forward to that.
the coaching every day is kind of where I am, and that's how I relay everything, to the staff as like a team, and I'm the coach, and they get that. I spend a lot of time coaching, and so they get that, and it works. And so if we can add and grow our team, then we can expand even further, and that's going to be exciting to be able to do that. And there's some target areas. There's been areas that people have asked us to go to. They've asked us to come to Houston. They've asked us to come to Covington, Louisiana.
Yeah.
We get a lot of requests to go to Covington with what we do, and we've got several customers that really appreciate what we've been able to do for them over there, because they don't have a What's Up Dog there, and
or even a store that like does what we do. In a lot of those areas, it's really big box stores.
Well, the guy yesterday said there's plenty of stores and there's even independents. He said, but there's not a What's Up Dog. And he said that it does. There's plenty of places that have products like you have, with the exception of a few things that we specialize in. But he said there's stores, but there's no place with the knowledge that you bring. And he said that's really what we want. And he said that it's something that you should look at. So that's always going to be a consideration for us to see how we grow what we do. Growth now, I think we focus on the retail side more than anything. I think daycare, and I think daycare is going to be there. It's going to grow organically. There's always going to be transition in daycare, because some dogs, we get transient work, in the daycare, because of people traveling through. We get transient boarders that come in to use the boarding facility, as well as locals. The store, mostly locals, but some transient business there. Training is mostly people that live here, but not always. We have people from out of the area that either bring their dog to work with us, or they'll send their dog to work with us. So that's actually a small portion of it, but that's good. We've had dogs come from all over. That the other side is we want to grow where we send dogs other places too, through the Armored Canine Division, where selling young dogs to people that are trained or partially trained, or mostly trained and all the way trained, for different things, whether it's just for being in a home, or for home protection or executive protection, and those are weird terms, but for a dog that may travel with a family, that maybe jet setters that are flying around or driving around, and they have multiple homes and the dog goes with them, or just a dog in the home, but they want a dog that's a good dog. That has good character and great obedience and a good mind on the dog,
yeah.
And so we're looking at how do we expand that, instead of like over the years, I've bred puppies with the German Shepherds and the Dutch Shepherds, but I really would prefer to train and place young dogs or fully grown dogs that are trained, that come up through our program, whether it's through our breeding program or acquisition program, but dogs that we've trained that we know are quality dogs. So that's where I see some of our growth coming from. That side is fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, that side of the business would be really fun. And growing that and seeing how it grows, and even when we do have some more of those dogs going, and we're sending dogs out to other parts of the country, because people from all over would like for us to train their dog. I mean, I just got off the phone before we started the podcast, probably an hour before, with a guy up in Tennessee. He's gonna drive down his dog and leave it with us for 5 weeks, because he can't find a trainer up there that he likes and trusts their training methods. So he's gonna come and wants to do a training with Tanner and the team over in Santa Rosa, and he's gonna leave his dog here for 5 weeks and then come back and do follow-ups.
Well, it's like right now with the dog going down to Miami, and actually Naples, and then dog going out to Washington State. So we've got dogs that get placed in different places, and the people that they're going to are people that are looking for a quality dog with regards to breeding and genetics, but they're also looking for quality training and that raising that it takes to get there. And I think that's what we're really good at. That's something that I've been doing for a lot of years, and started to explore some more of that. More recently than I guess than years past, because it was just so busy building the business and doing the things. You can only build so many areas, but I think that's a big area for us to build, and I think that's going to be a welcome part of what we do. We have the facility for it, we have the space for it, and I think we have the team for it, and that's the big deal. So I think that becomes our push. Used to be that we were interested in working with the police dogs and all that, but I think the protection dogs is to me is more fun for me. Because the people aspect of it, and that doesn't mean I'm knocking the law enforcement. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the interaction with the people and seeing how a dog changes their life, their family's life, and all that. It's just really cool to watch, especially when you watch kids that are working with these dogs in tandem with their parents. It's not just a police dog.
Yeah.
Now they have a protection dog that is going to take care of those kids and watch over them and be that that guardian that they that they need, and it keeps them safe and all that. So I have fun with that, and I think that's going to be where our next level of growth comes from, as we focus on that a little bit, but not giving up on what we do in the other segments, because we have staff that takes care of that, and we have a really good staff. So hats off to the team that's in place and for their commitment to what they do.
Yeah, I mean, even with the service dog side of everything, I mean, just to see the lives that changes when someone can get a service dog, it changes their whole family. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it save marriages. It's saved relationships between kids and their parents.
Well, and it literally saves lives, and that's an offshoot in a sense of what we do with What's Up Dog. Although we do train what I consider at large for civilians for service dogs, but with the Positive Love Foundation, we've been able to provide service dogs to combat wounded veterans, and they're all over the country, which is great. I love it because I can point all over the map, and there's dogs from coast to coast, literally.
Washington, California, all the way Georgia,
Virginia, DC,
Mississippi.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And getting ready to have one in Texas, and then locally we have a bunch and throughout the state of Florida. And one of the dogs that I got to train is up in Canada, and I get to work with that woman that has that dog, because she started her own foundation up there to help veterans in Canada, which is really cool. So it's been far-reaching, and What's Up Dog has been able to support that even when the community couldn't. We were able to do that because of what we do through our stores and through just all the things that we do revenue stream wise. We're able to support that because dogs aren't cheap, and we've been willing and able to do it, and that's pretty rewarding to me. So for me, for myself, I see myself doing more of that in the coming years as I slow down on the retail side. My training will ramp up, but it'll be more specialized, more focused. And I know Tanner wants to do the armored canine at a much bigger clip than what we're doing, and so we'll see that growth come. And I think that my sidestep is going to be more to the foundation, so that I'm doing that thing that I do with the service dogs, and that's train and place service dogs correctly, and it's just a lot of fun for me. It's inefficiently, and it's really rewarding to see and be able to give back to the veterans. So that's a big deal for us. But I think that's where the future looks for us. And again, if we end up opening more retail outlets for what we do to bring our, I don't know how you explain what we do, but it is knowledge. And I think that the guy said that right. It's knowledge, because we study constantly on food and nutrition, and we work with the manufacturers, and we listen to what people are telling us, and we don't go outside of the vets, right? Because we have veterinarians that we are good friends with, and we don't think we know more than the vets and all that. We just know different than some of the vets, and so we can couple that with what they do for traditional care, and we can help with the food
supplement with
and
the
supplement
natural
side,
yeah
and supplement with that. So
I always tell everybody, all the new staff, I always tell everybody we our goal is not to just be customer service. We're education through our customer service. We're not on top of you in the store. We're just here to help. I always tell everybody, if you have any questions, let us know. We're here for questions. If you need to find something, we're here too, but we're here for questions. You look at a product in the store and you can't tell what it is from the packaging, then ask, because it may be a product that could help you or help your dog.
Because I teach all the new staff that comes in how to read bags, which sounds really kind of silly, but the marketing
it works.
The marketing's on there, and I teach them. If you can teach the customers how to read bags, then you're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Just telling them this is good or that's bad, or this is better for your dog or whatever is one thing, and that's really not that appealing to hear. But teach them how to read bags, how to read labels, and help make their choices for themselves based on what they know about their individual dog. Because you're getting a 2-minute overview of their dog when they start reading the bags, the ingredients, and even some of the marketing stuff. Which I'm thankful that the marketing stuff that's on the products that we carry is not really skewed. And there's some that are. I read a bag.
Some that are, but
I read a bag one time. I said, now made with free range chicken. And it was a popular brand, and it was a puppy food, now made with free-range chicken. Free-range chicken was the 9th ingredient on the bag. So teaching people how to read bags is a big deal, and empowering them to make good choices for their dog. And I think everybody wants to get off meds at some point, whether it's them or it's their dogs. They want to live healthier. They want their dog to be healthier. So that's kind of what our focus has been, and I think that's where our success comes from. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I will close out by saying this, and this comes really from my heart because I look at the things that we've been able to accomplish as a company, and I just want to say thanks to our community, thanks to our listeners, thanks to our viewers, thanks to the people that have trusted us to help make a difference in their dog, and thank you for telling your friends about us. We get people come in every day that say that my friend said that you trained their dog, and we just got a dog. We just rescued a dog. We just got a puppy. We just, however they acquired the dog. And so we're here. We want to get signed up for training, or people will tell us the same thing about food and nutrition. You helped our friend's dog, and now we want you to help our dog. And so from my heart, honestly, it's, just thank you, because we wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening today. You can find us on our website, whatsupdogfl.com, and also on Instagram and TikTok at whatsupdogfl, and then on Facebook, What's Up Dog Miramar Beach and What's Up Dog Santa Rosa Beach. Thanks to everybody once again for listening, and y'all have a great night.